Hello and welcome into this week's Learning with Lindsey. And this week we're talking about how those pressure changes actually do affect your body, which we of course know. I blame everything, all my ailments, on the weather. If you've got storms coming in and you're gloomy, I blame it on the overcast skies. You're not getting as much vitamin D. If you get a headache ahead of a low pressure system, I'll blame it all on the weather. And that is scientifically true for the most part. Things in your body do change because of how that high pressure switches over to a low pressure, or even vice versa. Of course, we know that high pressure is associated with sinking air, and so that means that we get that much more pleasant air, typically warmer temperatures, and we'll also have, more sunshine, less clouds, less rain. With a low pressure system, obviously that pressure drops, and then we also will have the cold fronts, the warm fronts that move in, and that's going to also add to all the clouds, of course, the gloomy, stormy weather. The difference between a cold front and a warm front is with a warm front that settles in very slowly, so you get the days of overcast and drizzle, and it just is really gloomy outside. With a low pressure system, cold front, you'll have that sweeping front that moves in, and you get those storms, and those could be typically strong. It's when we get that severe weather. And the same with a dry line. You could also get some pretty strong storms along a dry line as well. But that being said, when we switch from a high pressure system to a low pressure that starts to move in, it does affect your head, your sinuses, overall energy, and even your joints, especially if you have arthritis, if you're a little bit more sensitive to that pressure change, then you're going to start to feel it. With headaches and migraines, that dropping pressure alters your blood flow and causes the blood vessels in your brain to dilate. That falling pressure will also slightly reduce the compression on your body, which also triggers that vascular expansion. And then sinuses, you sometimes could have trapped air in your sinuses, and when you have this low pressure that's outside of your body and then at higher pressure trapped in the air in your sinus cavities, that could also cause some discomfort. And the discomfort that you feel when a high pressure system changes to that low pressure system can also happen if you're hiking up a rapid altitude change, hiking up a mountain. You'll start to feel that in your sinus cavities as well. And then joint pain, you will also feel your muscles and your joints start to ache. That lower pressure makes tendons, muscles, and joints tissue swell, and that tissue swelling expands as a direct result from the dropping barometric pressure. So it's not just, again, in your head. The joint, like actual joint pain, not just a little tired or achy, but actual joint pain, especially people that have to deal with arthritis, will feel that, and it occurs when the tissue's expanding due to the dropping pressure. It can also press against sensitive nerves, which cause flare-ups of arthritis. And I can have that in my knees sometimes, and it just hurts. It feels like your bones are rubbing together a little bit. So all of that is due to that low pressure system moving in. And of course, sometimes, especially when you have those days of overcast and the drizzle and the rain, I've heard people talking about it all the time, especially when it goes on for 3, 4, maybe even 5 days, your whole mood overall is going to be lower. You might feel more tired, but it's also because that falling pressure can cause that physical tiredness, and it just changes how your body is reacting to the difference in pressures, what you just had maybe the day before, to that low pressure system that's moving in. It can also cause mental fog due to the slight shift in oxygen availability, and that changes, it's pretty minor for most people, but if you already have a sensitivity to it, then you're going to feel it more, and you're going to feel more short-winded during those changes. And then your overall mood, this is what I was talking about, when you've got that overcast and the days of drizzle and all of the rain and just gloomy weather, you might just feel a lot gloomier. Vitamin D, we know, does boost your energy and your mood, and if you're not having that for several days, you're not getting any sunshine, that's going to affect it. And then the opposite happens when you go from that low pressure, then finally the high pressure starts to move back in and build back up in our area, and you can feel the reverse effects of what we have to go through with that low to high pressure. So you might start to feel a little bit more energetic, a little bit more happy, excited. Your head stops hurting after maybe a week long of headaches. And again, like I said, I'll blame almost all of my headaches either on not drinking enough water or the pressure change. During that high pressure event, That high pressure may feel heavier, air pushing down on you, and as a result, your tissues will shrink, and that internal pressure, when your tissues expand, is reversed. So that causes a little bit more relief in your joints, so you don't feel that pain or that achy feeling. Blood vessels are also changing, though minimal. Unlike a low pressure, blood vessels may shrink, which does relieve your sinus or head pressure. It can cause temporary increase in blood pressure, but that again is only felt in people that have a little bit more of the cardiovascular condition, so a little bit more sensitive to that shift and that blood pressure change. Finally, a high pressure system brings that sunny, cool or colder weather into the area, and it increases your serotonin and dopamine. Isn't that just so fun? So you're going to, have a mood increase, your energy levels are up, you stop having those headaches, your joints feel better, and you want to get back outside. So all of that is, scientific. It's proven. It is actually happening. So you actually can have an excuse, I'd say, when we start to change from that high pressure system to the low pressure system. And it's not just made up in your head. You might feel gloomier and you might feel a little more tired, achy, your joints hurt, you got a headache, your sinuses, a little sinus pressure or congestion. All of that is scientific. It's happening when we change over to that low pressure system. So you learn something new every day. And if you want to learn anything else related to the weather, you can email us at weatherquestions@wreg.com, and it can be featured here on Learning with Lindsey or on our podcast, The Weather Lounge. If it's a little bit more of a conversation piece, then you can watch that, and that'll be on our WREG Plus app. But if you have any more questions, you can ask us on our weather questions at WREG.com, and stay tuned for the next one.